Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Climbing the Ladder, episode 41. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and joining me as always is John Clark. What's up, John?
Hello. Not
And
much.
we have the pleasure of welcoming on Mr. Kevin Lin from TwitchTV. He's the Chief Operating Officer. How's it going, Kevin?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. So, obviously, just a bunch of you guys that tuned in last show on Friday. I know you guys, there was a lot of talk about ad revenue and all this stuff because we were talking about Own3D and everything. And then Husky jumped on with a lot of talk about YouTube ad revenue. So, kind of figured it'd be great to have Kevin on, Kevin come on and talk about just more of that and really get a very, I don't know, almost a bit of an educational session about just what all these buzzwords, when we're talking about ad revenue mean, and just kind of how the whole equation lays out and who all the players are in each and that sort of thing. So I figured we'd do a little bit of that, and then we would then go into more talking about just what Twitch is doing right now, what are maybe how some of those components are different for Twitch. And then Stuart Saw is going to come on later. He's director of EMEA for Twitch TV, and he's going to come on and talk about, I don't know, just more the kind of, I guess, global expansion type of talk, I think. I don't know. Is that right, Kevin? Is that probably what he's going to talk about?
Right.
Okay, great. And definitely we're going to talk a little bit about the SDK because I've been wanting to talk. Nobody talks about Twitch's SDK, and I felt like it was a huge announcement, so we'll get to that too.
Great.
But yeah, so let's just start off. Let's talk about just the whole ad revenue model in general, and this is the way obviously Twitch TV generates their revenue, and then how content producers and channel owners make their revenue on the kind of end of the equation. So kind of want to start it off by really laying out just the players in this equation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, at any time.
Sure.
So I kind of see three players in this equation, and one being the advertiser. And then in the middle is where Twitch TV falls. It's more like the network channels and the ad channels and you can call it the ad networks and that sort of bit. It's kind of right in the middle. And then on the end of it is more the content producers and the in specifically like the stream owners or if you're on YouTube, it's like the video the channels, right? So I feel like those are the three players. Is that correct, Kevin?
That's mostly correct.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of parties that can exist between the advertiser and a platform like Twitch or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some companies in between there. That's what you call the traditional ad networks, or sometimes sales rep firms, and other groups sort of in between. Ad servers, and some ad servers actually perform the network function as well, where they have the auction or actually will optimize and manage inventory for some of their publishers, where we would be considered a publisher in that case, as we're a partner that they're effectively buying ad inventory from and selling to the advertisers. So there can be middlemen in between.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so why don't we start out with just talking about the advertisers? We'll just kind of go down the equation that way, and talk to us about advertisers, and hopefully we'll kind of mix in a little bit of Twitch, just kind of your dealings with advertisers and maybe even some of the CBSI, just how that's working out for you guys. But so talk to us about how, I guess, y'all's acquisition, of these kind of advertisers and kind of what the process is with that.
Yeah, sure. So right now we work with CBS in the States and most of the rest of the world, with the exception of continental Europe, where we work with ESL on sales. Mm-hmm. And so they're going out into the marketplace selling us to the advertising agencies and brands. So at the advertiser level, you actually have, let's just use Coke as an example. So mm-hmm. Coke, commands these marketing budgets that they use every single year, and they hire several ad agencies throughout the world to help distribute those budgets, come up with interesting campaigns for them, come up with creative ideas for them, and then coming up with a target plan for them. Now, if part of that target plan is, well, let's go after gamers, then the agencies go and do the research. Okay, these are Coke's goals this year in terms of who they want to reach, how they want to reach them. And then they go and do the research and figure out, okay, what networks do we buy from? What sites do we buy from directly? How are we distributing between television, other media, and online, and events, and so on, and sponsorships? And then they sort of figure that whole plan together, and then they start sending out RFPs. So if they say, okay, well, Twitch is a place we want to go, they'll send us a note or they'll send CBS a note and say, all right, we're interested in hearing how Twitch or CBS or ESL would approach the problem we're trying to solve in terms of what we're trying to market to and how we're trying to accomplish that this year. Then the onus is on us to go back and say, okay, here's the value of the Twitch audience. This is what people that watch Twitch or participate on Twitch are like. Here's the type of content that you might find on Twitch, so on and so forth. Put together a plan, some interesting ideas, and then ship that back to the agency. So that's in a summary of typically what happens on what we call an RFP, request for a proposal,
right,
by RFP basis.
So right now, obviously there's some negotiating with when there's interest. I think you get to the point where you're kind of negotiate a little bit about just, I guess, what the what the actual numbers would be. How much the advertiser's going to pay basically to for ad space on your platform. Talk to us a little bit about how that's been going with Twitch. I mean, is there a lot of interest for just basically the gaming, the esports/gaming space for advertisers right now? Because a lot of folks, we kind of talk high level and in theory, and it's like, oh yeah, gaming's a growing industry, and we always talk about stuff like that. But I'd like to hear just real life data, with you in particular.
Yeah. So there's this. You can sort of bucket advertisers into two high-level buckets: endemic and non-endemic. Endemic brands are the brands that we all kind of know and can identify as brands that are very relevant to gaming. These are gaming companies, gaming developers and publishers. Mm-hmm. These are hardware peripheral companies that are trying to sell products that exist around gaming. These are PC companies and so on down the line. So they get our audience, right? They know who they're trying to reach. They know how to reach them generally. And they allocate a lot of budgets towards that audience. Then there's the non-endemics. These are sort of like larger Fortune 500 companies, for instance, that don't specifically target games, but target mainstream. McDonald's, Coke, again, phone companies, etc. Mm-hmm. So the endemic sale is fairly straightforward. We have an audience that they get. It's the big thing that they like about Twitch is how engaged the audience is. On average, if someone comes to the site in a given day, they're spending 90 minutes. That's 90 minutes, an hour and a half per day watching Twitch. That's a third of the amount of time people spend watching television, right? Your average American spends 4.5 hours watching television. So that to them is very compelling, and they understand that. Okay, great. Not only are they exactly in the demographic we're looking for, they're also super engaged with this site. And that's been a really important point for us and for our sales partners to go out there and say, look, you're not just coming to watch a couple minutes of video and then bouncing and going somewhere else. You're actually sitting there engaged, enjoying the content, and you want your brand associated with that viewing experience. It's a very different experience from VOD, for instance.
Yep.
So that part's easier. The non-endemic is a little tougher. I mean, even the established editorial sites like IGN, like GameSpot online, where you go for traditional gaming content, and you go as an advertiser to reach quote unquote traditional gaming audience. Even they have trouble with non-endemics, right? So that's sort of the where the big budgets are unlocked. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell the story about Twitch, tell the story about our partners and the content creators that are creating content on Twitch, and talking about how that is different from everything else out there. How it's different from what you can find on TV that's related to this particular demographic. What you can find on other sites that's related to this particular demographic. So that's our job is to help tell that story, improve the value, the perceived value to the advertisers.
And so when the advertisers approach you, and the package, I guess they offer you, I mean, you guys offer them, is it just like just X number of views per month, or like what's the typical package that we're talking about whenever you guys are dealing with each other?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a typical one. Very significantly, the components, one of the anchor components is definitely video inventory. There's also, some display, although people are definitely starting to preference video over display inventory.
Yeah.
There are more interactive things, like putting together, an influencer program where we'll bring in some of our partners to play through a game or play a game, with this brand. For instance, like Man vs. Game has been doing something with Speed Stick. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was great.
Yeah. That was cool.
there's sometimes components like that, and it's custom. It depends, again, like everyone's got different approaches in terms of the way they want to spend their advertising budget, so we need to come up with interesting ideas. So we're kind of lumping it all together, and it is very different from campaign to campaign, but the anchor is always going to be video inventory for us.
Okay. Have you, speaking of the speed stick thing, have you guys added things in your development pipeline that's been specific to possibly a deal you could land from an advertising standpoint, like directly with a specific advertiser?
You mean are there features with specific advertisers in mind?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not particularly. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the new channel design. If you haven't, just any channel/new. The panels is something that potentially could become something we can integrate on a deeper level with partners that we bring into campaigns. But we don't. I mean, everything we prioritize on product is for our broader user base. So I'd say we have ad inventory, and definitely that's what people are interested in. A lot of people are interested in custom campaigns, which are typically content driven. So usually we'll partner with CBS or again another one of our content partners to produce that part. But I would say there's not really been anything we've built specifically for like one advertiser.
Has anyone asked? I mean, has anyone has anyone mentioned anything that might directly help their bottom line? Something that they'd like to see on Twitch. You guys have considered or?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard some ideas like in video player overlays, like little bugs that we could put on there. Technically, they're a little difficult to put out there, but it's certainly something we would consider. But we haven't really had any hard evidence presented to us yet that says this is really going to help. I think we're all we keep a really open line of communication to all of our partners, particularly leagues and the team managers who think about this problem every single day. And by and large, it's the biggest things that we can do are just help improve the sales funnel on our side and help improve the site general quality of service wise and just UI wise.
Yeah. So let's talk about the supply right now with the advertisers. I mean, are you guys turning anybody away that wants to buy any space on Twitch right now, or is it? I mean, is it that at that point, or is it right now? You're just you're really. I mean, it's. The supply is just not high enough right now. Like that's really the desire is to really get more and more advertisers right now. And I mean, is that the current state you guys are in right now?
Well, I mean, let's zoom out a bit. Okay. In terms of gaming content online, there's a lot of supply, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at if you're an advertiser and just want to do a big bulk buy, you're probably just going to go to YouTube and pay a really low CPM across just gaming in general. Mm-hmm. You look at just Machinima alone has 2 billion views a month. Maker alone has 2 billion views a month, right? We're not near that size of inventory, but what we're trying to do is basically communicate to the advertisers why our inventory is more valuable and more interesting and ultimately more engaging for your brand. That's what we're actively trying to sell on the marketplace. So I'd say on the supply side, it's a difficult question to answer just because there's so much supply out there that, again, if an advertiser really wants to reach someone who's watching gaming content, it's pretty easy to do that cheaply. So our job is to tell what's our value add on top of just the generic gaming content out there. So do we turn people away? If they're coming with an incredibly low CPM, yeah, sure. I think we should turn that away because at the end of the day, it doesn't help any of us, any of our partners, us, CBS, anyone who's involved in the equation, if we're selling the inventory at very, very cheap. This is exactly the problem that companies like Machinima run into working with YouTube, where YouTube on the one hand has a high incentive to sell at a very, very high volume at a low CPM because they have so much volume, but Machinima is trying to increase the perceived value so that even though they still have so much supply, overall the value of the inventory goes up.
So are you getting lowballed a lot right now? I mean, it does sound like you're turning away some folks.
I wouldn't say we're turning people away. I mean, right now it's still very much an educational process. I mean, if you think about it, Twitch has only been around for a year and a half. Yeah. We launched at E3 a year and a half ago. We started working with CBS, and we worked with Future US before that, which was a publishing group, and they have also some digital sites. Mm-hmm. But it's still very, very young. Like this whole industry, although it's been around, in our minds it's been around for a long time, in the minds of the advertisers, it hasn't been. So right now we're going through this educational process, which is, what is this content? What are people watching? And believe it or not, a lot of the folks that work at advertisement companies don't even know that it exists. And Simon Whitcomb, who was formerly at CBS at the DreamHack Valencia Esports Congress, made a great point, which is the people we're trying to convince at these advertising agencies are either too old to know that this exists, or the people who actually command the day-to-day operations and actually distribute those budgets, fresh out of college, young media buyers. They don't know, they're left from right when it comes to different kinds of content on the web. They identify with brands that they have experienced before, right? Which is why companies like IGN and CBS can do well.
Right.
But this is still very, very young. And we're sort of going through this whole process of education. What's the content? Why is it interesting? Who are the people watching it? Is one of the most important things we need to describe to them. So that's where we are, and that's the way it is. I mean, for instance, you look at Major League Soccer. They've been around for 20 years now, and it's not even a profitable venture. Most of the teams are losing money, and you would think soccer it's a worldwide is a popular sport, but in America it's just not. So even they struggle, and they've been around for 20 years, and they're traditional sports with a pretty good sort of model to follow. Whereas we're not only in a new model, where online advertising is still a very young industry in general.
So do you find yourself having to educate some of these advertisers more than you would in some cases? I mean, you're going to have one advertiser who obviously knows the market a little bit more than the others. Do you find that you're having to educate, kind of like you're doing right now with educating the community?
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do have to educate them. And what is showing them some content that is interesting to them, revealing to them numbers, bringing them to an event actually really helps a lot, right? Going to an MLG as a brand advertiser or an agency, you experience what this scene is all about. But unfortunately, most of these people have never even watched or been to an event. Right?
Right.
So it is talking about it. It is showing them, sizzle reels about how excited these audiences can be and why they love this, what we do so much. It is very much so an educational process right now.
Right.
But is more people are going to these events and they are starting to understand it, right? Like, the press has been covering a lot of the events, a lot of the pros, a lot of folks scrutinizing the industry a lot more than they used to, and that's actually been really helpful, right? People are reading about it in Forbes, reading about it in Ad Age and Ad Week, and they're saying, let's dig in, let's look at this. Like, how do we engage this audience?
Right. Yeah, I mean, some of it has to do with just, instead of just kind of looking at the obvious, these people play games, so it kind of has to, be these endemic sponsors that revolve around games. It's really about just getting to know the actual gamer, a gamer, and what type of products do gamers use outside of playing games. And I mean, everybody uses Speed Stick, for instance, right? Deodorant. Everybody uses like a bunch of other things like in their lives too. So I feel like a lot of these advertisers just should spend more time to try to get to know this. Definitely are just really just the social aspect of gamers. So I'm going to ask you, I wanted to kind of get down again to just defining some things for the community and for the viewers right now. So we always talk about CPM, right? And for those who don't know CPM, it's cost per melee, which is how much you pay for every 1,000 views. And we kind of talk about that from the standpoint of, Twitch dealing with advertisers and Twitch dealing with, obviously, content producers, right? Or just the channel owners. So in regards to that, so are the CPMs pretty similar? I mean, that you're kind of dealing with and you're accepting or rejecting, are those, or accepting actually, are those similar to the ones that you would see in other industries? I mean, is it actually, is it lower in the current state of just the ad space, like what you're offering for ad space? Is that much lower than the typical offerings in other industries?
I mean, you look at traditional entertainment, like you look at TV CPMs, they're quite high, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how true this is, but someone I was talking to about the UFC claims that they get $1,000 CPMs on UFC, right? I believe that if you will. But we know that they can range drastically. Like CPMs definitely range very drastically. It also depends on time of year. It depends on a lot of things, right? And some people are just willing to bid higher because they've done the math and they know the cost for acquisition via an ad is that valuable to them. But at the end of the day, what you're experiencing online can be anywhere from a 50-cent CPM all the way to, typically the heights are like $50 to $60 CPM. On, traditional entertainment content, you might see higher than that. You might see $100 CPM. So we're not there yet, right? A lot of people can't identify if you have an American Idol episode online. A lot of people want to, a lot of brands understand that. They understand the demographic that's watching it, so they're comfortable paying a higher CPM for it. Again, with us, it's still really new. The other factor that really plays into CPM is something I mentioned earlier, which is just the sheer amount of supply of gaming inventory. So it's all about how do you differentiate what we're doing at Twitch, or what the guys at Owned are doing, or what Cinema's doing, versus this broader just bucket of billions and billions of views per month. How do you make the brands perceive that what you're doing is fundamentally more interesting or more engaging or just more valuable to the brand? Right. So from a CPM perspective, it does fluctuate a lot. And there's this whole argument between flat rates and revenue share, and I don't think anyone's really figured it out yet. I mean, the fact is, over the last 2 years, ever since we've dived in, it's changed. We went from a rev share to a flat rate. Other companies went from flat rate to rev share and back, or just kind of played around with different models of flat rates. People are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and what he's talking about, guys, when he's talking about flat rate versus revenue share is, this is kind of like getting a little bit further down the equation, but I might as well bring it up since you were talking about it. And it has to do with, either, again, it's like, obviously Twitch is dealing with advertisers. So however much, the advertiser's paying for CPM can vary, right, depending on what advertiser they're talking about. So, a lot of people will, when they're talking about flat rates, that just means like the content, like for instance, let's say my channel that we're talking, that you guys are on right now. Well, I can, if I decide to do a flat rate with Twitch, or Twitch is just offers a flat rate right now, then I'm going to get X per X CPM, basically X number of dollars per 1,000 views. Now, if I decide to do a rev share, let's just say with Twitch, what would happen is that basically as that kind of CPM offering between the advertiser and Twitch kind of changes, then I guess my CPM would change with it. So it would fluctuate with basically the, however it fluctuates from the advertiser to the Twitch, equation. So that's why a lot of folks, I think in the last show, a lot of folks were talking about just the rev share and just having that be, I don't know, some people were talking about, like Destiny and those folks, they were saying that that kind of model fits better just because, you'll never be in a case where you're having to pay more than you actually have, right? Like Twitch will always have the money to pay you if you're doing a rev share with Twitch, I guess, in a way. That's correct, right, Kevin? I mean,
yeah, basically. I mean, you got to remember, both the company and the partner of the company is directly incentivized to sell as much inventory as possible in all cases, whether you're a machinima maker and so on. So you want to sell as much of that as possible. At the same time, again, you're trying to push up the value, the value of the CPM. So, the difference between the two primarily is sort of what Destiny alluded to, which is it's stability, right? So you have two high-level variables. There are a lot more variables in between, but two high-level variables that fluctuate drastically depending on things like seasonality, time of week, time of day, country, definitely country for sure, are fill rates and CPM. So if you are on a rev share, you are kind of fluctuating in both, right? In January, CPMs and fill rates go down. In December, CPMs and fill rates go up. And it ebbs and flows throughout the year. And so if you fix one of those, CPM's usually the one people like to fix, then all your really variable, the only variable is now fill rate, which is certainly still drastically changing throughout the year, but it does help you predict a little bit better what your income is going to be based on the amount of content you're uploading.
Yeah, so why don't you explain what fill rate is exactly and kind of how seasonality plays into that also?
Sure. So fill rate is, so the way advertising works in general, let's say you land on a TwitchTV player and you get a pre-roll. So a pre-roll call happens, an ad call happens that says, okay, we have a new player load, let's try to load an ad. That's called an ad opportunity. This is the same term that we use for when a content producer hits the commercial button. We call an ad opportunity. Now, that ad opportunity says, okay, great. Now let me pull some of this user information. Where are they located? What time of day it is? How many ads has he seen already? and a couple of other factors, and then decides, okay, I'm going to show this ad. Now, if they show an ad, if the ad server decides to show an ad, that's an ad impression. That means that you as a user have actually seen an ad. That registers as an impression over an opportunity, right? So if you go to the site, you see you open one video and you see an ad, you get 100% fill rate. Now, overall, let's say someone's watching. There's 1,000 people watching a show. So and then the content producer hits an ad button. That's 1,000 ad opportunities right there, right? 1,000 people that they can show an ad to. Yep. Now, if only the people, for instance, in the U.S. get an ad, and that's 40%, you now run 400 ads. That's a 40% fill rate. The rest is unmonetized, right? There's no ad that was shown. That's basically fill rate. So that's ad impressions over ad opportunities.
So have there been cases where you just don't show an ad whenever somebody presses a commercial? Because I don't think I've never realized that. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you too. Is there some kind of content that you fill when, like any kind of cross-promotional type of thing that, maybe in-house type of advertisements that you have whenever you don't have anything to fill that space with?
Yeah, we've thought about this idea, which is like cross-promotion of content. Mm-hmm. But for now, if you don't get an ad, you just get that little screen that says, ads are in progress. Content will resume in 30 seconds or something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. But if you're seeing mostly ads, that's good. That means we're doing our job.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to us about seasonality. What's the worst? I think we've heard many times recently that this period right now is probably the worst time of the year. I think is that correct? And
that's correct. So basically, the way it goes throughout the year is on a quarter by basis. The first month of every quarter is always the worst month of that quarter. Mm-hmm. Then by the second month of that quarter, the spend goes up a bit, and by the third month of that quarter, it goes up, and that's where most of the money is spent. And that's just the way that ad agencies spend their money, right? They RFP people at the beginning of the month, and then they spend most of the budgets out at the end. And in terms of overall month by month for the year, January is the worst, followed by February. March, oftentimes there's a pretty big uptick, and then there's another dip in April. So March to April goes down.
Kevin, what you just said is probably something that a lot of players don't even know. Would you agree with that? I mean, if they knew what you just said, understanding the differences in when the fill rate's going to be, higher, they might better be able to budget themselves out a little bit. Those players that think that they're making a living off of streaming could probably be served in understanding exactly what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it helps, but like our goal is always going to be to fill as much of the inventory as possible, obviously. But we do have these seasonality factors, and for us, by going to a flat rate, it does help that the players understand. But you're right, John. This concept is really important for people to know. And so April dips a little bit, May goes back up, and June is usually a really good month. It's summertime; people are spending a lot of money advertising, things for the summer. Then July, you typically see another pretty big dip from June. And then from then on, it kind of increases throughout the year. September to October is probably the lowest end of the month in a quarter to the first month of a quarter dip. And then November and December are, peak season. Everyone's spending on holidays. And then right after Christmas, you do see a dip that stays and sustains itself to the first few weeks in January.
Which is very similar to just retail stores in general and their sales. Okay.
Exactly. It does track that pretty closely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's I'm glad you brought that up, John, because players definitely, I think almost the majority of players don't understand this at all. They just kind of, they'll complain for whatever reason. A lot of times when their CPMs are low, right, and whatever, whether it's in the form of a tweet or whatever, but really their understanding of it isn't that great. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this show with you, Kevin. Yeah. And I kind of want to ask you, like, now that they're going to be, let's just say they watch the show, they kind of understand it now, and because they understand it better, they understand that there's going to be some months that it's kind of, in a way, a waste of their time. Like, it's not a very good use of their time to stream during those points in the season. Is that the kind of behavior you want? I mean, I know you want to fill as much as you can, but there's a lot of strategic placement or strategic, use of people's time, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what do you say to that statement?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a reason to not stream in certain months, right? At the core, as a content creator, you want to keep your audience engaged. And if you're not streaming for an entire month at a time, you're at risk at losing a significant portion of that audience. Mm-hmm. And I think the point is, you kind of blend it all throughout the year. If you're creating consistent content, you're going to continue to build a big audience, or bigger and bigger audience, and your value overall will continue to go up as you have more people to show ads to, and so on. So it's, is there a risk for that? Yeah, I think there is, but most people don't just not create content in a given month, because they do want to retain that audience. They do want to continue creating cool content, and they want to keep that audience engaged. That's fundamentally the most important thing. If you do stop streaming for a month at a time, you're going to lose a lot of that audience. Right. And that said, for us, again, our goal is to fill as much as we can. Like, we are trying to buck the trend of seasonality. Our goal is to smooth this all out as much as we can for our partners, because we know how important that is. Unfortunately, there are huge market forces at play, and we can only do so much. But that is a fundamental goal of what we're trying to do. Again, we're directly incentivized to do that. Mm-hmm. So we'll do as much as we can there. And again, we're still a growing industry, but there's no reason to stop creating content for certain months, because again, you just got to grow that audience. I can't emphasize that enough. And I know it sounds squishy, but that it is very true. I've never experienced a content creator that said, you know what, guys, I'm just not going to stream this month because ads. I've never really seen it. You see people tweet about it, and then the next day they're streaming again. At the end of the day, they like it. They do it because they love it. And money is definitely important.
It's not just that they love it. It's that there's an issue with retention also. That's another external piece of this equation. Gosh, it's like a weird. Actually, I got this stapler that's shining light on me. Weird. So I mean, there's this whole thing with retention too. So, I know a lot of folks, if they don't stream for a while, or if you're on YouTube and you don't make videos for a while, well, people just start unsubscribing, unfollowing you, and then that's just not productive for you also. So I kind of wanted to move a little bit, I mean, we've kind of already been doing it, but move over a little bit to kind of your relationship with the channels. Just the content producers, basically. So I know you guys primarily are offering flat rates to a lot of people that you're partnering with right now. And I wanted to ask you about that and kind of why you guys decided to do that. And in some ways, I feel like just personally speaking, I feel like the rev shares, seems to be more ideal, because you guys are a young company, you guys are going to be growing, especially from the standpoint of just acquisitions of just advertiser acquisition, and we're basically a lot of folks are signing year contracts or 2 years or however many year contracts with you guys, and what happens if you guys just just have this enormous growth within this 1, 2, 3, whatever years, and people are stuck with this really low flat rate CPM. Kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I mean, I have no opinions on it, honestly, just personally speaking, but I know a lot of folks out there, there's been some complaints on just low CPM and that sort of thing. And just given that, again, these are fixed and you're fixed for this period of time, what's your decision? What was y'all's decision on really switching to a flat?
Yeah, I mean, we started off as rev share for the first about a year of Twitch, and the feedback we got, I think we polled something like 400 or 500 of our partners, which was basically most of our active partners at the time. And the biggest concern was the seasonal change. And we took a look at that and said, well, look, would you guys be interested in a flat rate? At the time, most of the YouTube networks were providing a flat rate model. And they said, yes, we're much more comfortable with this. This is what we do it on YouTube. If you guys can swing this, great. That's what we want to sign up for. So we took that feedback directly. Again, we didn't have to change, but we decided based on the feedback. Now, when we decided on the number, which is $3.50, we took a look at the market and what we thought that we could sustain our at Twitch. And by and large, what we found was most people were only offering $1.50 or $2 CPMs. Yeah. So even a year ago, we were already offering 75% higher CPMs. Mm-hmm. Flash forward to this year, and this feels very I don't want to feel like I'm pitching Twitch. My goal is to educate people for this show. Yeah. But flash forward to this year, and what are people still offering? $2 CPMs or lower. It actually has gone down. right? Some people are only getting $1.50, $1.75 CPM offers now, and we're still at $3.50. So we're almost double what some of our, I mean, there's not really competition because it's, we're talking about YouTube here, but we're almost double that. So I think we have a long way to go before the industry as a whole is going to catch up. So we did take a risk. Like we said, look, we really want to sustain this. We know that in order for people to feel like live streaming can be a business for them, we need to offer a really good, high competitive CPM. Will we adjust that as we go? Absolutely. Like funneling more money into the content creation process is a number one priority for us because it means more people are creating content, people are creating better content because they can make more money from it, and it helps us all grow as an industry. So we are directly incentivized to do that, and we always will be. But for now, we're offering, I think, a pretty high CPM. I mean, if someone feels like it's low, I'd love to have a conversation with them about that. And I challenge you to find another large network out there that offers as high a CPM as we do. Now, on a rev share model in a certain month, like December, will you get a higher CPM? Potentially. But again, we're smoothing it out for our partners. That's based on feedback, what we got that people wanted was to smooth that out throughout the year.
So why not give people the choice, though, between both?
It's tough. I mean, as a business, like it's tough to have two different models. That's why a lot of people don't offer both. I mean, we're by comparison a year and a half old, 2 years, kind of 2 years old since we started gaming, a year and a half old since Twitch. These companies that have been doing this for 5-6 years on YouTube don't offer blended because it's as a business, you need to know exactly what you're getting into and build a model on that so you can build a sustainable business. And if you start to blend it does become quite difficult.
So do you guys view YouTube, not YouTube Live, okay, just YouTube, just the more conventional YouTube, do you view them as competition right now?
No, I don't think so. Not Twitch, really. I mean, I'd say for Justin TV, YouTube Live is definitely a competitive platform. It's a general all-purpose live streaming platform. I don't think YouTube is really focused on games that much, right? The features they're going to build are going to satisfy their largest use case, always, I think. And I think they'd be hard pressed to find, to build specific features like we have for the gaming community. So when it comes to Twitch, I don't really see it as competition at all.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked that is because some of the more prominent figures in our community, content makers, for instance, like Total Biscuit, right? You'll catch Total Biscuit saying sometimes on his Twitter that don't have time to stream live because YouTube makes more money. That's those type of statements and that sort of thing. And I kind of I wanted to kind of ask you there because of that. I mean, are you ever afraid that just all the content all content creators will just go to more just YouTube and creating static videos versus creating this live content? Because right now, honestly, you probably could make a little bit more money right now on YouTube.
Well, I think the argument goes both ways, right? A lot of people like just creating live content because it's you turn on your game, you turn on your stream, and you're going, and you play the game, you practice, and that's a big use case. And I think live fundamentally is just more engaging. It's a lot more interesting for a lot of content creators. I mean, this question is sort of in the world where money is what commands content creation, where that simply is not true, right? A lot of people do it because they really enjoy it and they want to create something interesting. So in the world where everything is driven by money, sure, the platform that earns the most money is going to win, but it's not that simple, right? And I think, again, the difference between live and VOD is, live is something you can almost do casually. A lot of people almost do it casually, whereas VOD creation on YouTube takes a little more care and some editing and so on. And it's just two totally different content creation methods.
So why not allow channel owners to monetize their VODs now? I mean, you guys have all the VODs available, and I mean, make it a lot easier for folks like me. So why not do that?
We want to, right? But like, it's a question of resources. We're still a relatively small company, and our priority right now is to make sure our live platform quality of service is top notch. We need the best live streaming platform in the world, and that's what we prioritize for our resources. VOD is definitely important. We hear you. We definitely want to improve our VOD system. You do monetize VODs. Partners monetize VODs the same way right now as they do on live. So it's available. But in terms of scaling it and improving it, we have to devote more resources to that. But right now, our priority is improving our live player.
Right, okay. So Stuart, I think, is available now. So why don't we pull him on here?
Great.
And we're going to have to set up the screen. Sorry, guys, but let's pull Stuart on. Stuart, by the way, guys, is the director of Europe, Middle East, and Asia for TwitchTV.
And with a long history in esports.
Yes, long history of esports. Is it first-person
shooters,
yeah,
yes.
First-person shooter. What's up, Stuart?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I gotta set setting up all these cams. Give me a second.
Yes, I apologize. I've absolutely never used this camera on this laptop before, so if I look like a Cylon or something like that, then I am a Cylon.
Where are you? You got this interesting angle. Like I feel like you're like looking right down on the camera or something.
Yeah. It's a laptop, so it's kind of like it's slightly angled up. I don't have a PC one that can nicely angle across.
Gotcha. No, it's funny because you actually look like you're looking straight at the camera, but then I can see this. Then I look up and see the ceiling and the corner ceiling, the corner of the ceiling. So I know that you're looking up at it. That's cool. But,
did makeup do a good job? But I tried to get the makeup guys in here beforehand.
Makeup, yeah.
That's funny. All right, so continuing the talk, kind of wanted to get, especially with Stuart, pulling Stuart on now, kind of wanted to get a sense of, Twitch's growth, and there's been talk about other companies. I was just watching The Good Show, and even James was mentioning that Owned kind of went through this phase where they're just growing too fast. And I feel like Twitch has done a better job of it, just even from a staff standpoint and that sort of thing. But talk to us a little bit about the challenges of having this great platform and having it grow too fast. Is that even a problem for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? We have to scale to track. I mean, one major difference between us and other platforms is we do build out our own infrastructure because we want to make sure that we can make significant improvements to that and have direct control over it. And that's important to us. And it's also important from a cost perspective. And rather than just working with CDNs like a lot of other sites do, we don't believe that's a sustainable model. So when it comes to scaling, rather than just calling up a third party and saying, "Yo, we need more internets," we have to actually build out and scale that. So it was definitely a challenge. I mean, we were in a huge growth stage last year. So to keep up, we really did have to, the ops team was working around the clock to keep up with the demand. So that part's definitely tough. And other things that you need to scale alongside it, like chat, right? Suddenly, if twice as many people were in chat, we had to scale the chat system. It doesn't just magically work. So I think that's a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't see is we do have a lot of different systems: live, transcoding, archiving, highlighting, chat, et cetera, that we need to scale.
Yeah, I think I had asked before when you were on the show just about the ability to archive the chat. I mean, it's something some people might be interested just going back, looking through, how the chat progressed, different links that were posted or whatever. And you guys said you have the ability to do it, but again, it's a matter of resources. Is that the same today still?
Sorry, it cut out for me in the middle of that.
Oh, okay. Basically, I'd asked before about archiving the chat. I mean, you have the ability to do so, but again, is the reason that you haven't done some of these things, like you were saying, is basically because of resources and time.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, we have a lot of different feature requests from all of our partners and viewers, and we do have to carefully prioritize all that. So right now, we haven't, if that's a big, if that's a big feature request people will want, we'll certainly prioritize it. But we haven't heard too much demand for that.
Right. Okay.
So what's your infrastructure setup like? I mean, throw out some impressive numbers here, like how many servers you guys have and that sort of thing.
We've got 1 billion. No, we've got data centers all around the world, and we're continuing to expand that. So I think, what have we officially posted? I believe 6 data centers in the U.S., 3 in EU. We will be expanding in both of those regions. We'll be expanding into Asia. We're talking about, we push a lot of data every single month. I can't divulge the number, but it is a lot. I mean, one number that we have talked about is, I think, 6.1 billion minutes viewed per month. And that number continues to go up.
Wow.
So you guys can kind of do the math on average bit rates there and figure out exactly how much traffic we're pushing out, but it's quite a bit. And it's always on, right? It's one of those things where you have to scale to a massive audience at all hours of the day. Mm-hmm. You have tons of connections happening every single second. So it's a complicated system.
So how big is your ops team right now? I mean, obviously everybody knows Justin, guns everywhere. But how big is your ops team, given that you're, obviously cross the ocean now in EU, and obviously you're based here in NA. Do you have folks? Do you have folks at a Twitch office in Europe as well as a whole? Obviously your big team at your headquarters right now.
Yeah, I mean the full engineering team is here in San Francisco.
Okay.
Stuart and Opie are out in Europe, and we got a couple of partners out in Southeast Asia as well. But the entire engineering team is here. So it's a very scrappy team considering the incredible technology they built. It's a very small team, and they've done an excellent job. But we'll be expanding the team because we know we need to grow the quality service and grow the network significantly over this year.
So goals for 2013.
Goals for 2013, sure. Continue to expand the platform, continue to improve the site. So hopefully you guys like the new channel page. Would love to hear your feedback on that. VODs are definitely an important thing for us. And continuing to bubble up, interesting content. I mean, a lot of what we do is help bubble up the new upcoming broadcasters that you may not be able to discover right now. And part of that is, on a technical level and feature level, improving discovery of this content. So those are, high-level goals for the site. Quality of service is always going to be a number one priority for us. Improving the ad revenue for our partners is, absolutely a priority for us as well.
Do you see a trend in that? Sorry to interrupt, but do you see a trend in the improvement of ad revenue?
Definitely. I mean, okay. Being part of the conversations with CBS and ESL, and on the sales side of things, people are warming up to what we do and the industry as a whole, and really starting to fundamentally get why it's exciting and why they should be putting their brand up against it. So yes, I think the trend is in a very positive direction.
I mean, is the biggest, a lot of times when I kind of think about, you guys pitching to folks, I kind of think of these like robots that are just, only listening for numbers. But do you feel like your pitches have more to do with really just gaming, why that's unique versus numbers, or is it really just all they care about are numbers?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, right? You got to describe to them, the qualitative parts of it, which is, the squishier, more difficult to exactly measure part of it. But then you got to back it up with numbers. I mean, if you told a great story, the best story you could possibly tell about why you should advertise against the esports audience or the gaming audience in general, but you've got 1,000 viewers, well, you're not going to get very far, right? So you really do have to have both, and the industry as a whole is at the level of scale now where people will open the door and listen to what you have to say.
Right. So are there any plans to add more features that would allow the channel owners to monetize more? Like the subscription. I think the subscription button has been amazing for a lot of folks. It's amazing for you guys too, obviously, because you make revenue from that also. But are there any plans for more of that? More, maybe like IAP type of things mixed into the channel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're open to ideas. I mean, we do get a lot of ideas in from the community. The subscription program pretty much has been in beta for now. We kind of wanted to collect some data there and make sure we were approaching that properly. So we'll be expanding that. Mm-hmm. But it's something we do think about a lot. I mean, current ideas. I think we're just focused on expanding the subscription program to see how that will go.
Right. Cool.
Somebody just asked in the chat, is there plans to expand on the mobile app?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've got an update coming out soon. I don't know if I was supposed to tell you guys that, but that's okay.
Well, you just did.
So you guys, you've heard it here first. We got an update coming out soon. But yeah, I mean, mobile's important for us. iPhone is a lot bigger install base than our Android app currently. but we will be improving and updating those apps along the way.
Okay.
Cool.
Good.
All right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the SDK, Kevin, before you have to go. So I want to get some of that talk in. So I forget when last year. Was it like August or July? You mentioned releasing the developer SDK, right? Twitch's developer SDK, and there's been an API available forever, and a lot of folks have been making lots of cool, whether apps or just lots of different products, right? Using the API. But the SDK is a little bit different. The SDK, for folks that don't, aren't in the development, industry, it's it's basically their full out development environment, and that you can you can essentially make, I don't know, you could almost make your own Twitch, right? I mean, like your own Twitch viewer and that sort of thing. Talk to us about the impact of this, because I was really excited because all I could think about were integration into games, integration into consoles, integration, all this, awesome content integration. Is that, I mean, should I be excited about those type of things?
You should absolutely be excited.
Okay.
So the SDK is a really, really big project for us, and it is a lot of things in one. I mean, the end product basically means that a gaming company can integrate streaming technology directly into the game. So as you're playing the game, you just go into your menu, you go into your settings and click Start Broadcast, connect to Twitch, and you're broadcasting from the game, pulls in user audio, and eventually, hopefully, a webcam, and there you are. No need to configure any software, it automatically detects everything, and it just opens up the opportunity to broadcast to a much broader set of gamers. On the other side, it also allows you to create a viewing experience within the game. So that helps bubble up, new potential viewers for the broadcasters, but also just is a hook to say, well, look, I see other people streaming. This seems interesting. Let me give it a try. And you no longer have this barrier of entry, which is setting up, a piece of hardware, capture device, or setting up software. It's all right there for you. So I think overall, it just expands the universe of people that are creating and consuming gaming content. It's nothing, and then the API, I think. Chris, the API is maybe more on the side of what you're talking about, where you can create a site or you can, use the API to embed Twitch streams on your site. We welcome that. We want distribution. And I think we want people to create niche sites that are, value add on top of just the live streams. So in that sense, we'll always encourage that type of development.
So I think, I was going to say that I think the biggest, the most obvious thing probably for a lot of folks watching is really having the Twitch player run inside the game, right? Like everybody talks about how Riot's done an awesome job about linking tournaments, and Blizzard's starting to do that also now. But the most obvious thing is to really embed straight into the game, and even more so immersing the player even more, right? With things that you were just talking about with the buttons, just anywhere in the UI. Have you heard any word from folks that that's the direction they're heading in, or?
Yeah, I think in general, people are thinking about it on a much deeper level, right? They want to engage the audience. They want to encourage content creator. By people, I mean game developers. Yeah. They want to encourage content creation because it's community marketing. It's free community marketing for them. It also helps engage their audience outside of when they're playing the game. I mean, as a game developer, I think everybody wants that. Well, we're not as a game developer, but game developers, I believe, fundamentally want that, right? They want you to be engaged with their IP as much as possible. So in that sense, they're really embracing it. Everyone's kind of thinking of it in a different way, which is really interesting. I think Riot and Blizzard and those guys who have been promoting the content within the game clients, that's going to be a trend you see accelerate pretty quickly.
Okay, yeah, I think if it was obviously embedded or just a little bit more
accessible,
easily accessible.
Yeah,
I think that obviously the stream numbers would be incredible. It's like the stream numbers would be incredible. Sponsors would dig that. It seems like a very logical thing, a logical next step for a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll see that. Well, Stuart, sorry, Chris, a lot of questions we've been avoiding you.
Chris, before I have one more question, Kevin, if you have time, and
sure.
This one might be one that you can or can answer, can't, or choose not to, but. It was asked of me by someone close to this entire situation, the entire thing with Destiny and so on. But What are your thoughts on why Twitch, every company is going to have some accounting issues that pop up where, latent payments and so on. And I think in the case of the situation with Destiny and Owned, I don't think, and this is just my opinion, I don't believe that Owned maliciously did this. They chose not to pay him. They're like, we're just not going to pay him. But why might it come up that a company, like Owned would not be able to fulfill paying out the players that are streaming or that they've had contract with? Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But obviously it's just your opinion. But do you have any thoughts? Because that's a question that hasn't been asked. Is we understood that he didn't get paid. That was a fact. And then of course we had people that were like talking about other issues that didn't really have to do with the fact. But why would a company not be able to pay? Why would Own in this situation not be able to pay? Was it because they paid too many people to come on board and ran out of money, or do you have any idea?
So I don't have any specific idea, but I can offer you my best guess.
Okay.
Companies, are born and companies die every single day, and it's probably chalked up to simple mismanagement. Yes, Own did offer a lot of crazy deals last year, and that was probably part of it. But fundamentally, the reasons why a company wouldn't pay somebody else is because you're in financial trouble. I agree. I don't think it's necessarily a malicious thing. I don't think they specifically targeted any one partner and said, you're not getting your money. It's just they just didn't manage the company well. Same reason why you've seen the news recently about Machinima. Not to target those guys, but these things happen, and it's not malicious. People aren't trying to be hurtful to the industry. Everyone's just trying to figure out how do you build a business around it, because fundamentally we have real costs as companies, right? I think a lot of the times, you hear a lot of the perspective of the content creator, and you don't hear a lot of the perspective of the company. And the companies do try to do right by content creators. Again, without the content creators, we have no content. We don't have a business. But it needs to be symbiotic. And if you overstep and you promise too many things as a business, and you take this risk and decide this is the model we're going to pursue, might not always turn out to be the right method, right process, or right choice, and you fail. And I think that's simply what happened there. I think they made a bet that a particular model would work, whether you chalk it up to the fact that they did rev share, whether you chalk it up to they didn't control their costs because they were using CDN rather than building out. I'm not really sure. I don't have insight fundamentally into the company, but I would just simply chalk it up to either it was mismanaged or they just picked a bad model.
Okay.
And I can probably jump in there and give you the most kind of accurate side of that for those who don't know my background. I was at Own3D for 6 months prior to joining Twitch. And just to kind of verify what both John and Kevin said, it was far, far from malicious. It was simply a case of, and I wasn't there when kind of the explosion happened, or when some of the deals similar to the ones that Destiny, or Destiny himself, was signed. But, it just seemed in that period of time that, the company woke up one morning and it had 10 million users. The day before it had one. With the explosion of League of Legends identifying that platform as for the one that it was going to take to initially, that made such a huge difference. No one really saw the explosion of League of Legends coming, and it happened in a big way on Own3D. And as Kevin said, suddenly CDN bills and advertising requirements in a number of territories just shot through the roof. And you have to have a business that's got to back that up. And if that can come about in such a big and quick way, then if you don't have the scale to hit that head on, then you're always going to be playing catch up. And I think that was ultimately the biggest challenge was playing catch up to the size that the platform became. And it was brutal. I used to hate the 31st and the 1st of the month because that was payday for the streamers.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was brutal at times. There's no two ways about it.
So Kevin, I mean, has Twitch ever been in that situation?
In the situation where we couldn't pay?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Or purposely delaying payments because, you just couldn't pay. I mean,
nothing is on purpose. I mean, we've definitely stumbled in the past.
Sure.
right? I will admit that fully, and I think a lot of people addressed it on your show. We grew really fast. We were a very small team. We didn't hire fast enough, basically, right? And suddenly when you go from a couple hundred partners to a couple thousand partners, the administrative overhead is something we kind of had to figure out, right? So far, we've beefed up the accounting team. We beefed up the network development and customer service team to make sure that everything goes out smoothly and on time every single month. And I don't think we've slipped up in a long time. But you make mistakes, whether it's a technical reason, and in we didn't put the right address in, which happens. People move all the time. We don't get updated payment information. Sometimes PayPal falls through. We got so many partners to pay. One or two are going to slip through the cracks, and that's going to happen for everybody. But we do our best, and we've got a full team to support that entire process now. It's a very important process. We know that our partners are reliant on that, reliable paycheck every month. So it's something we have buttoned up significantly.
Yeah, even if they were, and I'm sure they have been honest mistakes, the very fact is what you guys are doing is a year and a half old, and Tosspot will tell you that you're probably living in the shadows of some very poor mistakes that were made in the past as far as not paying out. So any little thing that happens, is especially with Reddit now, which is such a cesspool of information, it's just going to get out there, and it could very well just be something very simple, and it's just going to turn to pure shit in the end.
Yeah. And people just need to trust that if we make mistakes, we're going to do our best to fix them as quickly as possible. I think Husky alluded to that point too. And it is a new business for us. And to Destiny's point, I think he mentioned something about ChanmanV being insolvent and thus required, or like essentially forced to create Twitch. It's simply not true.
I was waiting for you to address that.
Not true. ChanmanV was doing just fine, and in fact, I sleep a lot less these days than I did back before Twitch existed. But it's for the love. I love we all love what we do here, and we did it because it was something we were incredibly passionate about as a team. And it has nothing to do with any malicious intent or insolvency. It's growing pains, man. It's growing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you both you, Stuart and Kevin, what do you guys think of what Destiny ended up doing? Like, how is your take on it, given that you guys are could be you guys are what you're doing what Own3D does. So like, do you think he did the right thing? I mean, from y'all's standpoint, do you think would you say that it got to the point where he had to do it, or do you think it should have just still been taken care of behind doors, like closed doors?
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Kevin.
Sure. Well, I think to be honest, it's good for the community to know this, and they need to understand, not only because you fundamentally just don't want people to go through that experience. You don't want people to get ripped off or lied to. It's an important topic to bring up, and I think Destiny was incredibly patient in terms of how long he waited to do it. I might have done it differently. I might have given the guys a chance to defend themselves. I just hate these like sort of unilateral conversations where someone's just not there and able to debate about what exactly happened, or at least defend themselves. That said, it was a really long time coming, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that it didn't happen sooner, I think the way it all was aired out is fairly, it's fair. It's fair, but. Again,
the big thing is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, I agree. I agree with that too. And if I could have gotten Oleg on my show, I would have gotten him on the show too on Friday. But it sounds like Slasher's gonna have Oleg on Live on 3 tomorrow, so we'll get to hear the owned side of everything. And I don't know Oleg personally. Stuart, do you know Oleg actually personally?
Yes, I worked for him for 6 months, and the one thing that, despite myself now being on the side, is I don't have a bad word to say about the guy. He worked himself into the ground. He worked himself quite literally into ill health, trying to make that business work. But on the flip side of it, you've got Destiny, who's doing this as a full-time job. He's got bills to pay at the end of every month. He's got people depending on him, and he is not alone, unfortunately. Destiny was not an isolated incident. I was not underestimating the emotional pain that the beginning of every month would bring to people who had to feel those questions of where is the money, when is the money arriving, where is it going to be, and you're just in this kind of vacuum of, God, I hope it arrives tomorrow. It was a real challenge. You've got people who are building companies, you've got people who are personally dependent, and that is a human factor which you have to balance against another human factor that the people running Own3D were working their nuts off. They were working everything to try and make it work. So you're just balancing these two kind of, I can't be angry at this guy, I can't be angry at this guy. That crap. I'm just kind of, stuck in the middle here. It's great to kind of be in a position now where, on the Twitch side, where it can't be underestimated. And John, you've been through this yourself on the GGL days and before, where actually being in a place where at the end of every month, the creditors who are the esports clients or the esports community are going to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Mm-hmm. It looks like, so I'm getting a question from somebody, just a guy that I know. He was asking about front page, and one of the things that I love about what you guys do is you do try to promote different channels on your front page. But I have to say that I feel like the real estate right now is very limited on front page, and as good as the kind of featured banner basically below the actual player is, I feel like none of those things get much play. So I was wondering if y'all guys had any different plans for the front page this coming year, and how to promote different channels.
Sure. I mean, right now, so we have sort of, in working with the current sort of structure of the front page, we have internal projects where we do try to bubble up new interesting content, and we try to give everybody a fair shake. In terms of changes, there are a lot of changes we do want to make. Some would be related to localization of content, right? Oh, yeah, so if you're in France, if you land on the front page, instead of getting an English promoted stream, you're getting a French promoted stream. That's sort of step one of what we could do there, which is just making it a lot more relevant. In terms of the UI and feel of the page, that's up to the product team to sort out. Right now, they're hard at work trying to get the new channel design out, which I hope you guys all really like. But then they'll start to revisit what are the discovery mechanisms and promotional outlets we should have on the front page that can help both big streamers and new up and coming streamers alike.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's see. Any other questions?
There was one more question if you have before you go. And Fatalistic from the chat was asking, have you ever been contacted by either record companies or movie companies, talking about copyright infringements, music and stuff being played by people that are producing content on Twitch, and if so, does this or will it have any sort of effect on Twitch?
Yeah, we have a lot of experience with this, starting from the ChanmanV days. It's an educational process we have to go through. We always refer people to our terms of service. You create content, you own the content, which means you have to have rights or licenses to the content. So it's something we've experienced a lot with ChanmanV. So we've got a lot of experience there. And we're trying to educate our broadcasters in terms of how you do handle that content, how you can go about acquiring rights and licenses if you want to. But it's something we do actively educate people about.
Okay.
Okay, great. We can take some callers too. I'm not sure if Kevin, you good? You good time wise or?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, great. Why don't we take some questions from the viewers? Why don't you call in, start adding me on Skype. My Skype ID is ChanmanV. And we'll just pull you into the call. And take any questions that you guys have. I'm sure there's a lot of folks with channels of their own.
Here's a real question while we're waiting for someone to call in. People are actually asking, what the hell does Too Good actually do for Twitch?
I didn't know whether you'd ask that one. I saw it. Enjoyed the chat.
I think they really want to know.
So Too Good joined us a little over a year ago, and his team, including Trance and his brother Will, And they do a lot of different things for us. Initially, it was helping us with a lot of broadcaster outreach, particularly in the European market, helping us get feedback on quality and what features we want to build for that audience. And it was onboarding a lot of partners and working with a lot of the tournaments. So they'd help us with our activations at DreamHack and at IEM and at events like the Gathering and the Assembly. So a lot of different stuff. And then when they started the Good Studio, it's largely content creation. Trance is sort of our tech support, streaming support for Europe, so that Gunrun can actually sleep once in a while. Now we have Opie as well. But that's what Two Goods team does for us, basically. And then going forward, it's more a lot of the event marketing and marketing activations.
Okay, good.
Okay.
He also gives us fashion advice. He's suggested we all grow our hair out.
That's right.
Whoa, hold on a second. I'm gonna have to fix these. Okay, Attila. We got some callers here, so I'm gonna have to fix this based on the callers. Attila, you there? Hello? Attila? I guess her sound's not working, so let's pull in a different one.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You were talking about the SDK and game developers including streaming capabilities into the game, like PlanetSide 2. More and more people are going to be able to stream, but my question to you is, how do you plan on giving those people exposure? If you look at League of Legends right now, there are about 700 streams, and I'm willing to bet at least 50% of them have like under 3 viewers. I mean, I get that not everybody can be entertaining, but there are streams out there that are entertaining and have something to show, but get no exposure. So how do you plan on making those streams get viewers, basically?
Yeah, excellent question. So there's a lot of different angles there. One thing that we built recently just in general to help the smaller streamers is that random channel directory. Others are just the way we promote it, the way we market it, the way we talk about it. So as we get more of those integrations out in the wild and make sure we get some initial testing and add some improvements to them, we'll start to promote it with those gaming companies. So they're going to be putting them on the appropriate sites about the game, or the community sites about the game. We're going to be reaching out to the community sites about the game and getting them to talk about the fact that you can stream and you can find these streamers. And again, as we think about front page changes, we'll sort out how do we actually encourage people to find this content. But there are a lot of different angles to tackle. Right now, we're sort of it's more of a user education angle, and getting the community, the existing communities of those games, learning about the SDK, learning how to use it, learning how to improve their sort of their show quality and what they're doing and how they're self-promoting themselves. But as we go sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that's really the key, is self-promotion, though. I mean, it's not your guys' job to promote everyone and try to get everyone to the same level as someone like Total Biscuit or Too Good, correct? I mean, you're just giving people an avenue or a way of, helping them better understand the system, and then better find people that are streaming. It's really on the streamers themselves to create content that's worth watching.
And you guys went onto that yourself. Look at the growth you've had.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time and consistency. I mean, we can tell you that. We could probably do a whole show on some of the things that we've had to change, how we've done our Reddit threads, where we put our information out there. When do we decide to tweet? I mean, there's a lot to learn in doing this. Consistency is obviously key too, but obviously we look to you guys, occasionally, we're always going to ask, to try to get as much exposure from you, but ultimately it is on the streamers, to create content and make it worth looking at.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer.
It's tough, believe me. I could go on for days about it. So maybe one of these days I can talk to you. But all right, thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get Tilla back on here. She was trying to call in. Oh, what happened there? Shoot. There we go. Oh, something's wrong, Attila. I can't get you on. He keeps blocking me. Folks, anybody else that has questions that you want to call in? You see any questions in chat? But if you want to call in your questions, just add me on Skype, guys, or call me on Skype. Skype ID is ChanmanV. Here's a question from Target Quake T, are you willing to partner streamers who strictly deal with running and promoting esports events in games that are not mainstream?
Oh, there's as with Quake in his name, it's quite obvious where he's coming from, and you need look not much further than DJ Wheat within the Twitch stuff, myself, beyond Quake and Enemy Territory, obviously there's the concept of Twitch partners is not defined by you must have a 1,000 concurrent minimum or something along those lines. It's subjective around you might be big in this game, you might be big in this community. It's Twitch and partnerships is as much you got to remember the Twitch team that look after those types of things are all gamers. They all get the nuances around it. So that's a very kind of there's no black and white answer to that. It's very
does production value play into that? I mean, if you're only in front of maybe 200 people, but it's a consistent number, but the production value that you're putting out is very good, and you see in as a Twitch group, you see an opportunity for this guy to grow if maybe he has a little bit more exposure. Is that something that you guys consider as well?
Yes, production value is a big factor. We're looking for not only the most well-rounded content, but the most diverse content within Twitch.
Okay.
What's the most popular game being played by the staff right now?
By the staff, I would probably say Dota 2.
Okay, cool.
But that's not at this very moment. That's after hours, correct? After work.
Yes, after hours.
Yeah, right.
That's how we keep the site going, guys. We play tons of Dota 2.
Exactly. When they run out of content, they just create their own channels and start showing those.
Exactly. Yeah, no, Dota 2's been. We used to play Street Fighter 4 every lunch, but that unfortunately has been a tradition that's gone away.
Hey, Gwen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I suppose I would just say one word and hear your reaction to it. They mentioned it in the stream chat as well. If I say ad block, what do you say then, Kevin Lynn?
So it's actually really impressive the number of people that have told us they've turned off ad block for Twitch, specifically for Twitch. What would you like to know about ad block?
Well, it's I know some websites that merely when you go onto them, they simply ask you to disable ad block, or you actually can't access their content. Have you ever considered doing such things, or you just live with the thing that is the monster that is ad block?
Yeah, fortunately for us, I mean, we have a lot of partners that kind of go to bat with when it comes to ad block, and ad block's one of those things. It's a slippery slope, right? They're incentivized to create something that works for their product to work, and it's a difficult thing to combat. So it is more of an educational process. But our partners, by and large, have done a really good job educating their user base. Like, look, this really does help me out from a content creator perspective, and so we find that a lot of people actually disable it.
I mean, a really good kind of follow-up question to that is there, technically speaking, is there any way to basically combat ad block? Just the typical ad block plugins and tools that are available.
Yeah, again, not really. It's tough. It's an arms race, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Whatever you figure out around it, they'll figure out, days later, and it's just this constant battle. So it is more. What we found is our community has done a really good job, and they really just embrace the fact that, look, it's free content, right? It's free content. People will work really hard to create that content. The least you could do is watch an ad every 20 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. And technically it's difficult though, right? You look at YouTube. YouTube's got a major ad block problem. And if YouTube can't figure it out, or if YouTube has decided, look, there's no reason to go after and try to enter this arms race, I don't know. It's a difficult problem to figure out.
Can I ask you then if you've ever considered doing anything like Team Liquid does with the ever so known elephant, put something in the space where you normally would have your ads that encourage people to actually whitelist ad block, or put something there that would maybe make people thinking of turning ad block off, telling them that it actually might hurt your website, hurt your content, hurt the streamers. It's not just one big company. It's a community that you need to support.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly pursue that route. Again, our partners have done a really good job educating people about ad block and how it does affect them. currently, if you do have ad block on, you still see that loading screen. So you're still not getting content. You get a black screen. So that's currently what we do.
Yeah, you might as well.
So
turn them on.
they're thinking I might as well just
True.
have it on. It gives me something to pay attention to for the next 30 seconds.
What we need ads that say free giveaways if you do, free giveaways with this code if you keep your ad block off. All right, we have okay. Thanks for your question, Gwen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. And
thank you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Thank you.
See ya. So we have a question in regards to subscribers. You actually, John, you want to read that one?
To subscribers. Oh yeah, the one I posted.
Yeah.
Okay, so about the subscribe button, while I understand it's a numbers game, and this comes from Elvin Mod or something like that, Elvine, the more viewers in a channel, the more likelihood someone would or be a subscriber. Being a broadcaster that is not into the thousands of viewers, but a dedicated viewer is around 100 and roughly 50 would subscribe, does Twitch take into consideration quality or quantity? If you understood that question. I think he's asking, does it matter if it's 1,000 concurrent viewers, or is it just as important that he might have 50 people that have subscribed?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking at, right? I mean, the subscription platform, the subscription program has been really new, and by and large, a lot of the sort of Twitch features are ad-free. Sometimes people block access to HD. There's chat badges and emoticons, but a lot of the time, it's really up to the broadcaster to figure out. Look, what am I doing? Am I giving away sandwiches? And is that how I'm getting subscribers, or what am I actually doing? And we're learning from that. And so we've gotten several months of data now, and we're gonna we've just started looking into that and saying, look, how do we open this up? Is it necessary that it's only the big broadcasters that are part of the subscription program? I don't know. It's too early to really tell yet, but I think we'll know very soon, and we will be opening up that platform. So I guess the answer to the question is there a world where quote unquote the little guy can have access to subscriptions? Sure. I think if it looks like it works out, and that will drive a significant portion of revenue for those partners, we will absolutely consider doing that.
Okay, great. Let's see. We're gonna try. Ooh, okay, actually, we have a few new ones here. Carl. Oops. Carl DeGart. Hey, Carl, you there?
Hello.
Hey, welcome to Climbing the Ladder.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I'm just basically gonna go on what Quinn was going on and ask something I also saw in the chat, and that's basically if Twitch is gonna release sort of basic check marks for streamers. For example, if you reach these numbers, you get that. You reach these numbers, you get that, and you get those numbers, you get that. Mm-hmm. Something for a small streamer to work at.
So achievements, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's hard for. I saw it in the chat that it's. We're talking about how it's hard for a new streamer to be. I got 300 viewers. Where am I at? And what do I have to work on? Where will I be to get for example, a sustainable income?
Oh, I see.
I see. So you mean aside from the sort of partner criteria, we have published just other almost like badge-like achievements? Is that what you're referring to?
No, I mean more like. Okay, I don't know if these numbers exist, but for example, I haven't found them. Just like, how can I get information about what do I get if I have 600 viewers and they see my commercial and I run a commercial, I don't know, 1 hour, once every 1 hour or something like that.
I see.
Or are there
a little bit of metrics maybe, or
some kind of metric.
Like a guideline as to
even like we're talking about production value before. That's kind of vague. Like it's very hard for a new streamer to be like for one to be consciously going into Twitch and be like, I'm gonna be a streaming personality. What do I need to do? What do I need to get, and what kind of benchmarks do I need to get at?
I mean, that's that's pretty hard to do. I mean, I don't think Twitch should be responsible for doing stuff like that. Just for one, like, let's just say you're talking about making a decent living. Well, a decent living is different for everybody, right? So it's hard to make a generalized guide for that. But I think there's a lot of content producers, a lot of people that have kind of gone through in the grind of growing into, a big channel that might be able to, might be able to put a guide out. Maybe if they're watching the show right now, might be able to put some type of, how to kind of become a successful channel or something like that. But I think that's what you're talking about, right? Is that what you're...
something like, what does 300 viewers give me? What does 600 viewers give me? What does 5,000 viewers think something work at?
You're not talking about something like where you get to 300 viewers and all of a sudden you get some features from Twitch.
No, I think that's two different things, although I think that's a great idea. And actually Fishstick spoke up and said we absolutely do need badges or something at Twitch. But I think what our caller is talking more about is definitely some sort of guide, some sort of educational guide that somebody coming into the scene, or even somebody who's been in it for a while, can see kind of a template of certain of a progress. Like, how do I get to this level?
Yeah.
When I get to this level, what might I be able to see, in revenue and things like that?
Especially
definitely
revenue.
More of
On the revenue side, I'll chime in on that because and it sounds like you're from my neck of the woods over here in Europe. I mean, the European side of it, as in particular, it's so impossible to give you a template to say if you reach 100 people, you're going to make X dollars in revenue, simply because the advertising market varies from the US all the way over to Taiwan. Every country is so unique in the amount of revenue that you can make, the seasonality of the fill rates, and so on. That to put out a template for such a scenario would just be ultimately misleading, because you'd be looking at one for every country. And that would be a good. That's maybe hard to produce for each country, but that would I don't know, help out. Ultimately, what I think would need to happen would be to have someone like a Destiny as a perfect example, or be a role model for the streaming community and say, I made a living out of streaming. This is how I did it. This is my experience. These are the things you can learn from me. Ultimately, we're just looking to enable as many people as possible to produce content, consume content, monetize content. We're just looking to be an enabler within that process.
All right. My second question, as I'm running out of time, is more about, are you going to do something, for example, like YouTube? They have annotations to help out teams. For example, that you can stream, that streamers can, I don't know if this is possible technically, but for streamers to add consistent annotations, for example, that you have a box. I mean, StarCraft 2 streamers, they have a box in the lower right corner with their products. Can you enable for premium or streamers, if it takes a lot of bandwidth, I don't know, but to have it a clickable box? So, for example, if I click it, I get redirected directly to the ad source, rather than it just being a revolving ad, which is, I feel, one of the things that's more powerful of the internet, rather than, for example, TV, is that you have clickable options. Is that even possible?
So, am I muted?
Okay, no, you're not muted now. You're not muted.
Okay,
I thought you were talking
right
before, and we couldn't hear you.
I'm trying to get a charger for this computer before it runs out. So, I already.
Looked like you were laughing at the idea.
Oh no! Someone was like waving. Is this the right charger? And I was like, no, that's not the right charger.
It looked like you were saying like, but this guy's serious.
No, I apologize. should have blocked the camera. So I might have already gotten myself in a little bit of trouble earlier talking about the mobile app, but we have some really cool stuff coming out soon that the product team's been hard at work on when it comes to exactly what you're talking about with chapters, as we call them, for the VODs. So you'll see some pretty cool stuff. But if you have specific ideas on how you'd like to see it implemented, I would love to hear it, because we're constantly getting this kind of feedback, and as we release in beta, we take that feedback and then adapt as we need to. So we'd love to hear more thoughts there. But we do have some pretty cool stuff coming out that will, I think, solve a large portion of the problem you're talking about.
All right, Carl. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. How about one or two more, and then we'll call it a day.
Well, you're getting that set up. I'll ask one real quick one that was asked before, and
Okay.
I know it's been an issue before, but is there any explanation for the lag or the issues that those in the EU have watching Twitch?
Within Europe, there's a whole kind of variety. Kevin went through earlier on the kind of infrastructure that we have within Twitch, but then when that infrastructure hits a certain limit, that then offloads onto a third-party CDN as well to kind of increase capacity within Europe. So you're battling a lot against kind of historic statements to try and get people to kind of realize actually it's not the same, and you're going to get not the same as people were have said historically. So a lot of it has been changed. We're always increasing our presence here in Europe, and we're always increasing our QoS within Europe, and we're just kind of, I think on the European side we are battling a little bit of a historic kind of story that we're looking for. Trying to get updated. And you can see that in some of the Reddit comments as well. People saying, in the past 6 to 7 months, things have really changed. Obviously, no two networks are the same, and there are still issues, and we're still trying to work that. As an example, there is one ISP in France that just says, actually, if you're not one of this ISP sister companies, we're really going to give you 0 preferential routing. So you're in trouble. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But we have worked and will continue to work very hard to improve Europe and beyond to bring it up to the level that people expect out of the US, for example.
Right.
And I will say for all the viewers out there, like if you do have an issue, please use that video report button on the player. That actually gives us a ton of information that we can use, actionable information. And send us feedback. Let us know if you're having a particular issue and and you can tell us what your ISP is. Definitely hit that video problem button, the little wrench. But let us know like what your ISP, blah blah blah, and so on. That stuff actually is actionable stuff we can work on. And sometimes it really does come down to a specific ISP that we have issues with.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Hawkeye actually has a question. Let me pull him on here. So Mike from Curse.
We love Mike.
You do? Aren't they still with Owned?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Mike.
He's Hawkeye. Everyone loves Hawkeye.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
that's
Mike.
true. Hey, Mike, you got a question?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for you guys. It's something that we've a lot of people have asked me about and we've talked about in different forms, but I know you guys have a lot of people on here who do weekly shows like this, like Climbing the Ladder and stuff. Is there any work on like kind of an almost TV guide for like a running schedule? Because I know a lot of people I talk to have these really cool ideas for weekly shows, but they're like, I get buried under the really popular streamers every time I try to go live with a weekly event.
I
So
know
was just
that
wondering if
feeling.
there's anything. Yeah, I'm sure you do know the kind of how that feels. It's like, oh, I had a great idea for a weekly show, and then all of TSM started streaming, and no one knew I existed.
Right.
The short answer is yes. We have an event system in the works.
Oh wow. Okay.
Nice. It'll be more like a lineup type of, like a TV lineup type of thing, or?
Sorry, I just got this. I'm at 5%, so I'm like trying.
That's
to
okay. Yeah, save it.
All right, let's see if I can get this going.
I guess will there be more channels? Like sort of like you would think of a TV channel, cable channel type of thing, where they have their own lineup, right? That you can just sit on, just kind of like you sit on the front page, but it's like a different channel like that.
A lot of people have asked that question in terms of, wouldn't esports be cool if we had 24/7, 365 broadcasting if someone took the ESPN approach?
Yeah.
And we enable anyone to do that, but ultimately what TwitchTV is the kind of next generation of on-demand content. I want to watch League of Legends right now. I'm turning on to do that. Television and scheduled television doesn't enable me to get what I want when I want it. So I think we're moving as a content consuming population away from scheduled content and to this scenario where we're on right now.
Okay, that's
No
fair
one's
enough. I
using
think
it.
it'd be cool to have both, actually. But
Yeah, and I have a
Um,
question that may kind of go along with that, just more of a feature in the front page. But somebody just asked me, is it possible to see a list of popular channels without them being live? Would there be any? She doesn't believe there's a way to do it now, or
that's
she
good.
hasn't looked into it. But
That's good.
would it be something where you could list some of the more popular channels on a weekly basis or something?
Yeah, that's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
We definitely prioritize discovery for live content. We find that when people land on a non-live channel page, there's typically pretty high bounce. But that's a really good idea. I mean, just from a following mechanic, right? Just being able to discover and subscribe to channels that are popular in, whatever category or game that you're interested in. Excellent idea.
Yeah, has to do with probably would build up even more if you had the VODs. The VOD
Yeah.
feature was a little bit more enhanced too. So
Well, I mean, we can see by everything that we've talked about that there is so much potential. There's a lot of other opportunities, and you're only a year and a half old,
Yeah.
and esports in general is not that old either. And with the the invention, I guess, but with the introduction of Twitch streaming, the esports industry as a whole has changed 180 degrees. I mean, there's a lot of new things that can be done. So, a lot of people have a lot of great ideas, but we have a lot of room left to go. I mean, we have a long ways to go before a lot of these things can even happen. Otherwise, we'll just end up going too fast and burn ourselves out.
right.
Definitely. You can see in the chat, a lot of people are talking about different ways of doing discovery, and Kevin mentioned one in response to that last question. And there are so many different ways to kind of, skin a cat, but it's in our interest to do so. So we'll always look to innovate and improve methods in way people can find content that they're putting on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike. Got anything else, bud? Or
No, thanks. That was really cool. That's pretty much all I had.
all right, awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
All right,
Yeah.
I promised this one guy one more because I wasn't expecting Mike. Mike just kind of messaged on real quick. All right, Fur Swag.
What's up?
Hey, what's up?
I'm kind of new to the streaming and stuff like that, and so are a couple of my friends. But some of us have Vitas, and maybe even like Pokemon games and stuff. Is there a way to actually stream that and whatnot, or will there be?
Yeah, there's definitely a way. I believe the Vita's got a HDMI output, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just need an HDMI capture card.
Okay. What about maybe for the 3DS? I don't think there's an HDMI port, and I know like sometimes people can record it and then put it on, but it's not the same as streaming. So
There are some
there's
cameras you can buy, I think, right?
Well, I believe there's composite out from 3DS, right?
Is there
I think so.
like an attachment type of thing?
So I thought there was. Sorry, I don't.
Okay.
This is a question for none other than our,
Yeah.
our very own Gunrun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's in the chat answering actually right now.
Oh, cool.
Oh, get a webcam. Get a webcam.
Yeah,
Thanks.
he says get a
Thanks,
webcam.
Justin.
He says it's harder than you know what. He says get a webcam.
Thanks. No, I think I've seen who is it? JP was doing something not on the 3DS, but he was doing it with one of the handhelds, and he had this kind of camera that you can get that seemed to work decently. I just don't remember which one it is, so you might want to ask him.
okay. All right. Well, it's kind of an odd question, different from everything else y'all been getting, but something I was just curious about. So sometimes it's easier to ask than to just Google it and find all kinds of links.
Sure,
so.
no, appreciate it. All right, thanks, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, actually, we still have time. All right,
Yeah.
one more. I feel like it's later.
This
I don't know
is a question that I had, and more of from just a devil's advocate. It's been asked before, but do you feel like does saturation of streamers hurt the bottom line at Twitch? I mean, I can't imagine that it does, but do you feel like, I mean, some people have asked, well, if everyone starts streaming, then everyone makes less. Can you maybe elaborate on that idea or that misconception that people might have?
Yeah, it's definitely a misconception, and it's sort of, going back to my earlier statement, which is there's already billions of views per month on gaming content, right? So by comparison to, with the gaming amount, the amount of gaming content on YouTube, we're quite small. We got a ways to go. So no, it's definitely a misconception. There's no oversaturation right now. We are going to do our jobs to sell the inventory. And that's what we as Twitch need to do for our partners. We are growing the partner program, still very regularly, very consistently, but we are being a little bit more scrutinous on the partners we bring on. So in a sense, we are going to be gating a little bit the partner program, but we do want as many people to be going into that partner program as possible. The criteria has gone up a bit a few months ago, and we do like to bring on content that we feel like we can present to an advertiser and they can watch and understand and be satisfied with. Yes, I feel comfortable putting some marketing budget towards this. So that will always be the goal. But no, I don't think there's going to be ever really an oversaturation problem in the near term. Or anywhere. It's not a problem.
Okay, I'm going to bring on... Go ahead, sir.
The proof is in the pudding on that one. If on the oversaturation point, that look at the streamers that have recently moved over from Own3D, their traffic's all gone up, and you would think everyone being in one place might actually make that traffic go down. But just ask those League of Legends streamers in particular that moved over, and it's been quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to pull on Cajun here, but I did have a question for you guys in regards to esports. Obviously, you guys are a platform company, technology company, and in theory, you don't have to market esports. But do you guys feel like your team is promoting esports in any way? I mean, obviously, you're helping esports and helping all the esports organizations, and events.
Huge help.
But are you guys actually marketing, actively marketing esports?
Yeah, definitely. On all fronts, right? In terms of the way we promote content on the site, we're always, we do promote a lot of esports content. When we're out in the marketplace, we do talk about it a lot, and it's because it's a great sort of bleeding edge of what we're doing in general. It's a great representation of what it means to watch gaming content, and people respond to it. People respond very positively to it. And I think in that sense, it'll be always something that we promote, and it's always something we're going to support. It's what got us to where we are, right? It's the reason why Twitch even exists today is because we really wanted to embrace this concept. And we'll branch out from there for sure, and we'll have things like speedrunning community and charity events and gaming industry events that will be broadcast on the site. But esports is always going to be a huge part of what we do, and so yes, we do what we can to promote it.
Okay, awesome. All right, last caller. I promise, last caller. Cajun.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for the persistence.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't know if this had been asked.
Are you actually from New Orleans? Are you actually from Louisiana?
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana.
Oh, where in?
Lafayette.
Okay. I grew up in Kenner.
I was born in Baton Rouge.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Well, look at that.
We're going to have some crawfish boil sometime, man.
We're taking over. Sorry,
right. No, I don't think this got asked. I missed one or two questions, but I was just wondering about the format of StarCraft and League of Legends. When you bring up your page, the first thing you see is 6 streams, and you've got to scroll all the way down, buried under a sea of bronze players to see anybody else. Is there consideration to make more streams appear on the front page, whenever you go to a certain stream, or put up 20 streams on as soon as I put it on instead of having to scroll down? You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, you mean on the front page or the directory?
Of each game. If I go to StarCraft,
the directory of each game.
Yeah.
Okay, you mean is this basically the thumbnails are too big question?
Yeah, basically.
Apparently that one's been asked before or mentioned.
Yeah. Well, so we're working on a new directory design as well.
Okay.
So yes, it'll be less scrolling for you.
Okay, cool. That was basically it.
Cool.
There's only so much you can put on a page, so it's tough. It's definitely tough.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your question. Is this a thumbnail size questions? All right, guys. Well, appreciate you guys coming on, and hopefully, all you viewers got a lot out of this. I feel like our discussion was a little bit more in depth than some of the other appearances you've made on some of the other shows too. So hopefully, you guys understand ad revenue a little bit more and what Twitch is doing. But kind of want to go into shout-outs at this point. Kevin, do you have any shout-outs you want to do?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for doing, not only for bringing us on the show, but for doing an excellent job growing what you guys are doing. I think you guys are a shining example of exactly how you can grow as a content producer on Twitch. And it's, you don't have to be a pro, you don't have to be a big league, you don't have to have a huge amount of money behind you to do it. And you can really become a big content creator just by persistence and consistency and working hard. Shout out to all you guys out there. Thanks for making Twitch what it is today. I say this every time I'm on a show, but we really couldn't do this without you guys. And it's this incredible movement in the culture of gaming that people are starting to embrace watching games and connecting around that watching experience, and that's really huge for us. And of course, shout out to all of our partners who do stream, and thank you for working with us. I know there's a lot of options out there, but thanks for sticking with Twitch and helping us and growing with us.
Stuart?
Yeah, I could echo a lot of what Kevin said. I'm not going to shout out to Opie because I always shout out to Opie.
Which in a way you just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell them, John. Shout out to, we have to give Red Eye some form of a mention. I'm not sure whether it was hearing, eyesight, what let him down on this episode, but it was a shame that Paul wasn't here.
Internet, man, internet. Yeah.
He's just as upset, trust me.
And, to those who are doing games that aren't League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, to those who are pushing the Quakes, the old FPSs, enemy territories, Call of Duties, this is what the Twitch team and the Twitch site is all about enabling, enabling these niches within niches who, want to support, their corner of the internet. Those are the guys that really kind of have my love at this moment in time.
Right. One more shout out, and sort of just a thanks almost to all the employees here at Twitch. I know a lot of you guys are watching, and I want you guys out there who are watching the show to understand how hard everybody here at Twitch works. We work hard, we play hard, we get our gaming in when we can. But these guys work around the clock to make sure this site stays up and works for you guys. You have
they
no
are
idea what
working
that
right now. They are actually working right now.
They are actually working right now.
Are you guys hiring?
We are hiring. Check out the jobs page. We have a lot of open recs. So yeah, please do check that out. I believe it's twitch.tv/jobs. I don't know if it's /p/jobs or /jobs. But these guys really work hard to make Twitch what it is. They literally have to work constantly because there's content 24/7 around the world. It's not like other sites. It's very different. And making sure events go smoothly in Europe, followed by Asia, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is no easy feat. So shout out to you guys. Get back to work.
Oh, gosh. Oh man, they definitely you guys work. I mean, I haven't obviously don't know y'all's entire team, but Gunn and Ben and all those guys. Oh my gosh, it's crazy how much you guys support. The tournaments and like you said, all around the world. And whether it's Skype or it's actually in person. You guys the service level is pretty amazing.
And one thing about the employees is all of the ones that I know personally, they know games. And, believe it or not, that really helps in this whole situation. And they have a good mix of people. Stuart and Too Good and we, of course, they're my favorites because they all love FPS, but then you have Elaine. Of course, Ben likes FPS too, and Gunrun. All of them have been involved in gaming. So that really helps them, really helps Twitch because they can understand directly, well, this is our audience. This is exactly who we're, looking to help. So this is good.
John, shout-outs?
I guess to all those that are watching and to those that tuned in to the radio show that I was on this morning with DJ Wheat, which I thought was pretty cool. We talked gun violence and video games, and I'll have I'll tweet out later, where the podcast for that is. It's about a 30-minute segment, I guess. Shout out to all those that asked questions, and hopefully I was able to write enough of them down and get as many in as I could. And actually shout out to Marcus, to DJ Wheat. After we did the show, we had a coffee, and he gave me a crash course on this because even though I do this show, something that people might not understand. Chris handles all of this stuff. I don't even I barely knew what CPM was until we started doing stuff when I was at CSN, with Violet. But the things that I learned just listening to the show today, are going to help, I think, my understanding of how we can better, control the content, get the content out there, improve on the number of viewers that we have, and find ways to make revenue for ourselves. So I learned a lot just in this 2 hours, and Wheat gave me a crash course before we actually went on the show, and there's a lot of good stuff that I think, Chris, we may have to do a show where we kind of talk about how we got to this point and where we plan to go from there, and because there's magic involved, and there's an art form to getting the information out there. So
you
guys definitely should look at your organic growth. Came from John. You've been around forever, but look at your kind of reputations are just skyrocketing with this show. You're a shining light for everything that's ongoing.
Yeah, and I told Chris in the very beginning that I wasn't concerned about that, and it was
we-
probably a mistake on my part, because I've always been in the background. I've never been a personality; it's just always been the background. But there is a lot to be said about being able to share it with viewers that I may never talk to on a personal level, but they may learn something. From a lot that we talk about, the guests that we have on, and so I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a good idea, John. Definitely, we'll eventually have a show one of these days, just kind of maybe talking about just how to get started and what it really takes. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, for sure. And my shout out, I want to give a shout out first off just to all the admins that helped me out on the show, guys like Residox that help with the MP3s, and just a lot of folks after last episode that are offering up their time to help out with the show and just my show. So I really, really appreciate that. I always want to make the shows very community-based, like all of my shows. And, you guys offering to help is kind of in parallel with that. So I really, really appreciate that. And, I want to give a shout-out to, Twitch and just all the streaming companies, TwitchTV and even Owned and YouTube Live and those folks. I mean, folks like me, we wouldn't be able to do anything like this, Like before, it would take so much more sophisticated equipment, software, and setup to really even be able to broadcast to a number of a big number of people. So big shout out to what you guys are doing, and you guys have changed esports. Like even back in the days when John was back when esports was big back then. I mean, this is a completely different ball game now, and it all has to do with streaming, and that sort of thing, and lots more entertainment, whether it's like stories and just pure content or just learning and that sort of thing. I mean, it's all available because of streaming now. So hats off to you guys for doing that, and hopefully you continue in your success. And
one last thing, when in the world people are asking when the Twitch store is going to be completely fully up and running, we'll be able to get some of those purple hoodies.
I need a shirt.
Oh, you mean the merch store?
I got a shirt.
I don't have a shirt. Every time I ask Gunn and Ben, they're out.
And I want Gunn to actually sign it. I want Gunn and Fish to actually sign it and then pass it on to me. Okay.
Done. The store, I'm not sure. Soon. Okay. It'll be coming out. So.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the way to my heart, guys, is T-shirts. I mean, I don't know why. There's something about T-shirts that just like make me smile. Like I don't want any gear. I don't want any like gear or anything like that. Just give me a T-shirt and I'll be like super happy for some reason. But the VOD for the show, guys, will be up right after. I'll be uploading straight after this, so you'll find that on youtube.com/ChanmanV. Follow all of us on Twitter. All of our Twitter usernames are all on the overlay here. So follow. It's Kevin. Follow Stuart, John, and any updates for the show will be posted on Twitter for me. All the audio versions will be on my blog. I just started chanmanv.blogspot.com. It was mainly to be used for the audios, but I've been adding show updates there too, just kind of like weekly show updates, so you can catch those there too. Other than that, let's see. Next week we're gonna have Jenna Bain on to talk about Axiom and all the all the great pickups and announcements they've been making recently. So that should be a lot of fun. It's going to be the same time, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central Eastern Time. And that's going to be it. So.
Oh, yeah. Where should people be headed to?
Oh, yeah. We got to send people. We got to send folks. Let's see. You guys see anything interesting?
What's coming up later tonight? I know
Oh,
Wheat's
well,
having a show, but
Yeah, Inside the Game always. Tuesday is always a great day for shows. I mean, it's the good show, and then us, and then ITG afterwards. Let's see, what should we send them to? All right, choices. We got MLG and Hot's Arcade is good. I'm all about pushing the arcade, guys. So, anything else?
not that I see.
Oh, come on, you guys aren't going to give suggestions. You guys are remaining unbiased, huh?
Oh, so I was just gonna. I don't know if you guys have ever seen FFS TV.
FFS
but
TV.
They play games in cosplay, and it's
Really?
yeah.
Really? Oh wow.
So I was gonna see what you guys came up with, but I figured probably no one's really watched these guys before. It's /FFS TV.
Is it on right now?
It's Far From Subtle Television. Yeah, it's on right
Far
now.
from
All
Subtle.
right, try that. Twitch.tv /FFS.
Go check those guys out.
TV, right? Okay. Yeah, check that out. Let me know how that is too, because that'd be pretty funny, I have to say. I don't think we'll ever be doing cosplay on this show, so.
No, I can guarantee you that.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
I keep wanting to say
Thanks,
peace. Gosh, I
No,
cannot.
don't say peace. Don't
It's,
say it.
what was I gonna do? I was gonna say. Oh man, I don't know. See ya. I
Stay
guess see
classy.
ya. All right, there you go.
All
I
right,
had something
see ya.
good. Shit.